Hey guys, how you doing? This is Chris Cupp over here at Smart Debt Relief. Thank you for coming on to this video where we talk about what's working for us in the process of debt settlement, which is helping our clients get out of debt based on their financial hardship. So first and foremost, we want to let you know that after this video, you will have the ability to schedule an appointment with one of our team members to go over your situation if you feel like this is something that could help you out. The nice part about this video is it's going to give you the framework where if you wanted to do this on your own, you would be able to do it on your own. So let's just get into it and let's talk about, number one, who debt settlement is not for. So first and foremost, we want to make sure that you don't waste your time with this whole process. Let's talk about who it's not for. Debt settlement is a program that helps people that are in a financial hardship. So it's not a shortcut for people who have the ability to pay off all their debts. They're just not getting out of their debts in that case scenario. So if you're in a situation where, you have the ability to pay more than your minimum payments, or you have a bunch of money in your savings account or enough to pay your debts, or you're in a situation where you're not struggling on a monthly basis with your minimum payments to your creditors, this program isn't for you. Reason being is that there's so many different options for someone who is in a situation that has the ability to pay their debts, such as personal loans, or just paying more towards the actual debts than the minimum payments. Actually pays down the debts pretty quickly. Those are options that you probably want to look at. Okay, so if you're not if you're in those situations where you have those abilities to pay more, this video is probably not for you. Okay, just don't want to waste your time. The next thing we're going to talk about is who debt settlement is for. Debt settlement is for someone who's going through a financial hardship. And we've given examples below of people that are going through financial hardship, the circumstance that happened to get them into that financial hardship, which is number one, unemployment. Then we go to reduced income, which could be from furloughs or getting a new job with less pay. Either your partner or your spouse has had a loss of income or a loss of work. And then also maybe a pay cut on your side of things. That definitely leads to that financial hardship. So you also talk about illness or medical emergencies, job transfers, divorce, separation, and marital difficulties. We deal with that on a daily basis. That definitely has an effect on the finances. An extreme change in mortgage terms. That could be like from a fixed loan to an adjustable loan. Military service, a death in the family definitely hurts the pocketbook. Increased expenses and excessive debts are a major one that we deal with on a daily basis too. So the reason why we list these examples is because people in these situations will usually have a little to no money left over at the end of the month to pay more towards their debts. They usually don't have any savings or little to no savings to pay their debt off. And they usually don't see an increase in income, which is another way that you can pay more towards your debt if you made more income, right? So what we're going to do now is talk about if you were to get on the phone with one of our team members, exactly the process that we go through. First and foremost, we do an evaluation. We go over your income and expenses and a budget to see exactly how much money is coming in compared to how much money is going out. We then put a credit report or pull a credit report to see exactly who your accounts are with, because you are in a financial hardship. We want to make sure that we deal with the creditors that you currently have. We deal with unsecured debts such as credit cards, personal loans, sometimes some private student loans, collection accounts, medical debt. We will go through an underwriting process to let you know exactly, based on your specific situation, what creditors we deal with that you currently have. And there's a lot of them, majority of them. We sometimes don't deal with credit unions, but that being said, it really just comes down to the underwriting process in that evaluation. Okay. What I'm going to do is show you an example of a person that's gone through the program, Judy. In her case scenario, she came to us with 5 accounts. Those 5 accounts equated to, as you can see in that top orange section, about $35,000, $36,000 in credit card debt. She was paying on a monthly basis $957.87 in minimum payments, and that's all she could afford, barely could afford. If we went over her budget, she was robbing Peter to pay Paul with those credit cards. So it really came down to, of course, if she were to stay in that same situation, she probably would have fallen behind in the near future. But let's just say she was able to maintain that $957. Her estimated payback based on her interest rates and what she was paying towards the debts, as you can see there, they range between 28, 30, 14, 21 years, 9 years. That's crazy amount of time to pay that amount, because you can see the total amount that she would have to pay. was close to $99,000, $100,000 based on that $35,000 in debt that she currently have. So in the green section is the actual program process for debt settlement. We were able to negotiate the balances down to about $26,000, $25,000, I should say. Her monthly program payment was $521.75, which was a savings of $436 a month. And you can see the total cash paid is the negotiated balances paid of about $25,000. Getting us down to that blue section, which is the savings section. The very important numbers, which we're going to go over after we go over the process of debt settlement also. We're going to revisit this page so we can go over a little bit better. But the savings, she was able to save about $10,000 to $11,000 off the amount of money she owed. The savings that she had on a monthly basis, about $436 a month. And then the total cash saved is the difference that if she was to stay in her current situation and pay that $99,000 compared to what she paid with the actual process of $25,000. So she saved herself about $74,000, $75,000 just in that interest and the principal balance of the accounts themselves. Now, we advise every single one of our clients, depending on, of course, their financial situation when it comes to what they can afford, that you use the money that you save, because she was struggling, but she was still making those $900 and some odd payments, right? Use that saved money, or use the majority of that saved money on a monthly basis to put into a savings account so you don't have to worry about using credit card debts in the future. Because once you get through that 4-year period of time with our process, 3-4-year period of time, depending on, again, how much money you owe, not only are you saving that $400 and some odd a month, she's now saving the additional $500 a month because all the debts are paid off, right? So by saving that $436 a month into a savings account, she was able to get herself $21,000 where she doesn't have to rely on having credit anymore, no credit card debts. Okay, so that's you can see the the before, the after, and the savings with a process such as debt settlement is definitely help Judy out in her case scenario. So let's get into the next part, which is the overview of the debt settlement process. I'm probably cut off a little bit up there. I do apologize. But the 4 phases of debt settlements are the build-up phase, number 1. Number 2 is the negotiation phase. Number 3 is the payment phase. And number 4 is the completion phase. And every single one of your accounts enrolled into the program goes through these phases. Okay? Let's talk about number 1, the build-up phase. So in the build-up phase, there's some key things that we do. Number 1, we contact your creditors and your credit card accounts to let them know that you're in the process of debt settlement. Okay, we set up a dedicated account that's a bank account in your name alone, and then once we set that up, we start making these monthly scheduled deposits into that account. That account is dedicated to the debt settlement process. This monthly scheduled deposits is the number we came up with for Judy on her side of $521.75. It was based on her budget and the amount of money that she owed, getting you into a program usually between 3 and 4 years. So once we come up with that number, we make those scheduled deposits. And then number 3, it builds the dedicated account balance. We like to see usually 20 to 25% of an account balance before we start the actual process of negotiating with the creditor. The credit card companies don't want to talk to anyone until there's actually some type of money to be paid, right? So the last thing a credit card company wants to do is negotiate a settlement and then wait a year, 2 years, 3 years for payment, right? What we're doing on our side is we're building up that fund. That's the phase 1. So the dedicated account is the engine that drives the actual program. And what that means is we're using your money to actually negotiate these settlements with the creditors, right? We're using our expertise and your funds that you're setting aside to negotiate these settlements. The creditors are not getting paid in this period of time because credit card companies won't negotiate on current accounts. So that's why we talked about it before. Who this process is for is for someone who's in a financial hardship and they're already going through the negative effects on their credit because they can't afford, or they're in a situation where they, can't, like I said, they can't afford those minimum payments, or they can't afford more than those minimum payments, right? So as you build those that dedicated account up, our negotiation team, they do create a custom strategy to get you the best settlements possible based on your creditors, which let's just talk about phase 2. Once we build up 20-25% of one of your account balances, we move that account to phase 2. Phase 2 is the negotiation phase. So The nice part with our experienced debt negotiators, what they'll do in this negotiation phase is establish the best time to start negotiation with the creditors. The second thing they'll do is they know what type of settlement to negotiate based on the creditor and based on the amount of money you owe. There are two types of settlements. Number one is a lump sum settlement. So for example, if you owe $10,000 and we negotiate or we go through that build-up phase of getting $2,500 in your dedicated account, we then move to the negotiation phase where let's go to one of your creditors and say, hey, listen, on this $10,000 account, we have $2,500. They agree to it. We pay them. You approve it. We pay them. At that point, that's a lump sum settlement. We use the lump sum of $2,500 to pay it off. Let's go back to that same example with a term settlement, which is the second type of settlement, is if we were to go to them on that $10,000 account and we have $2,500 and we say, okay, we're going to do 10 payments of $250 over the next 10 months to pay off that debt. That would be a term settlement. We agree to that $250 every single month for the next 10 months would equate to that $2,500, and that account would then be done on that side also. The nice part with our process and our negotiations team is that they can have the ability to leverage one settlement against another settlement or one account against another account. These credit card companies, they do soft inquiries on your credits, which is before you even get into this process, maybe you've seen a limit brought down to your balance. Maybe you've seen a interest rate get risen for no apparent reason. It's because credit card companies do a soft inquiry on your credit to see how you're doing financially on paper. So if they feel like you're becoming a risk, they'll lower that limit down to the balance or they'll raise that interest rate. So with this process, all your debts in this debt negotiation, debt settlement program, they're going to do that soft inquiry. They're going to notice that all the accounts are in the program, right? So we can go to the creditor and say, hey, listen, we have this amount of money. For instance, let's talk about that example of $10,000. We have $2,500 to send to you. Our negotiations team tells the situation. The creditor knows that you have other debts that are behind. It gives them the ability, it gives us the ability, it gives us leverage to say, okay, this is the little that we're going to give you. The reality is that if we don't give it to you, we're going to give it to the other creditors, right? So that gives us some leverage on our side of things. And our negotiating department knows exactly when to go through that process. Again, kind of just a little rehash of what I just said. We use those skills to create the most effective and efficient negotiation strategy for your specific situation. Once your build-up phase reaches a tipping point, the negotiation strategy is then implemented and a member of our negotiation team reaches out to the creditor to start that process. Once we negotiate a settlement, it moves us to the phase 3, which is the payment phase. Each time our negotiations experts reaches that settlement with one of your creditors, two things happen. First and foremost, we immediately contact you for your authorization. Your authorization is required on every single settlement process. Okay. Once you actually agree to those terms, we then have the paperwork ready for the funds to be released from your dedicated account to the creditor, and then that debt is now paid. The settlement's done. You owe absolutely nothing on that account. It's now done. A little pro tip on the bottom. If you're doing this on your own and you're following the framework of the build-up phase to the negotiation phase to the payment phase, never give access to a creditor. Never give a creditor access to your bank account information, because they have your original terms and agreements show that if you're behind on a debt, they theoretically could go into your account and take the money out. That being said, that's why we set up that dedicated account for the actual process where the creditor has no access to that money. Okay, so just be careful there if you're doing this on your own. So again, the payment phase is fairly easy. Once we actually get the settlement in writing, we then send the payment to them from your dedicated account, and then it goes into the fourth phase, which is going to be the completion phase. After that full settlement amount is paid on each enrolled account, the credit bureaus, which is your credit, will be able to report, and they should report on that the account is either paid as settled, settled in full, or settled for less than the full amount. Whatever it says, we just know that the balance is zero. You don't owe that anymore. The account is closed, and then it stops reporting on a monthly basis on your credit. Only open accounts report on a monthly basis that affect your credit score. So regardless, again, of that term used, once the account is settled, you no longer owe that debt. The account balance is zero. That debt is now behind you. And then we rinse and repeat with all of your creditors throughout this process. So going back to Judy, As we can see here, we go into that top section again. She came to us, if you feel like this, she came to us with emotions of, not being able to afford her debts, not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, with $35,000, $36,000 in credit card debt, paying about $957 a month. She would stay on that current situation. She's going to be paying $99,000 over the next 20, 25 years, right? Crazy how that compounding interest works with credit cards. We were able to get her into a program where she had negotiated balances down about $25,000, so she saved herself about $10,000, $11,000. The minimum payments that she was paying were $957. We were able to get her a program deposit payment of $521.75, which is a savings of $436. And if she were to stay in the same situation compared to what the program would be, she saved herself about $74,000, $75,000 in total amount of money paid out. The key here with Judy also, she was able to save that extra $430 some odd a month into another savings account, where at the end of the program, at the end of the 4 short years, she was able to have $21,000 in the bank, where she doesn't have to rely on credit cards anymore. She doesn't have to rely on credit. She doesn't have to worry about balance transfers, paying 5 different creditors every single month, and worried about missed payments, late payments, and the stress is all gone at this point. So the next thing we want to go over is that we offer a service of debt settlement, which we just showed you the phases. You go through phase 1 of building up your money, phase 2 of negotiating the actual settlement with the creditor, phase 3 paying the creditor, and phase 4 of completing. So the reality is you could do this on your own based on the framework that I just went over. If you're in a situation where, the reality is when you take that, it's a lot of emotion that's involved when you're dealing with your own debt. We take the emotion out of the process. It becomes a business transaction for us. We help people. We've helped thousands of people get out of debt. If you want to see if we can help you out based on your situation and get a personal evaluation, do us a favor. There's a calendar below. Feel free to fill out your information, your name and your number, answer a couple quick questions, fill out the time and the date that you want us to talk to, and one of our team members will reach out to you to see if we can help you out. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Thank you very much for watching our video. Thank you again. Bye-bye.